to start recording so everybody can see it when they get in later. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. I have so many Noras and Normines and, people with similar names in this group. There is a term which is technically not super translatable. In Spanish, when you meet somebody who has the same name that you have, you've got two Maria Elenas in a group, you've got two Juan Carloses in a group, they'll look at each other and say, eres mi tocayo, or if to the lady, eres mi tocaya. I'm going to write it in the chat box what that sounds like. Tocayo or tocaya means, I guess you could use namesake, but that doesn't quite. Namesake is kind of being named after somebody. A tocayo is not necessarily named after. It's just somebody who has the same name as you. So a lot of times people, when they meet people who have the same first name, and it's got to be first name, not last name. Somos tocayos. We have the same name. It's a fun term, and people love to use that term. Yeah, see. Las noras de mi grupo aquí. Okay, I think we are going to start. And I know we've got some people who are for sure on vacation, and a few, aquí vienes. Sue Y must have gotten internet back. Wow, I'm surprised she's coming on in. That's great. Okay, vamos a empezar. Muy bien. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are well. ¿Sí? Todo está bien. Y el Wi-Fi funciona. Let's all knock on wood. The Wi-Fi is working so far. So hopefully we don't run into any problems with that. Okay. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy es practicar un poquito más con verbos como gustar. Vamos a practicar con palabras negativas. We're going to do a little practice with negative words and some of their opposite things. And I hope we can start into reflexive. If we don't start into reflexives, then we will save it for next week. I do want to open the floor, though, before we do anything. Well, actually, no, before we do anything else. The one piece of paper you will need to find before class so that you're not rushing at the last minute will be this. I had sent this out to you. Pueden ver, can you guys see this? See? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I had sent this out. This is a thing about saying that you don't like things, and it has practice questions at the bottom. So if you need to find your link to that, if you pull up two screens at the same time, or if you printed it out and it's lying around somewhere in the office, but you need a minute to look for it, now would be the time to go look for that, because you'll need it later on. And we'll, of course, take any questions about that before we launch into small group practice. But primero, antes, before we talk about things we don't like, las novelitas, I want to open the floor for any little questions you've got about the book you have been reading. I am trying to remember if it is Donde está. No, mi propio auto, no, mi propio auto, exacto, bien. Okay, vale. ¿Tienen ustedes preguntas? You guys have any questions about vocabulary you read from that, or the way words were linked together?
Dos preguntas.
Okay, vale. Laura, dime. Dimes, tell me. Dime.
Duolingo has had me working with this being esta or esta, depending on if it's feminine or masculine. Okay. But this book has esto.
Aha.
And they all mean this.
Okay, they do all mean this. They do all mean this. And I'm going to need more than the chat box to show you that. So we're going to bring up the whiteboard here. Esto sí es importante. This is important. in English, we just have this, or, you know, the plural of this is these, right? And this or these in Spanish will always have the connotation of something kind of closer to the person who is speaking. Okay, this and these indicate closeness, physically proximity to that thing. But there are a number of words that mean this. So este is the masculine for this. Esta is the feminine for this. And you'll notice there's no accent mark. Okay, these two words both mean this. Este is masculine and esta is feminine. And este and esta can be used with the noun they talk about or by themselves without the noun they are talking about. Okay, so, por ejemplo, if I want to say this pen and I use pluma, esta pluma, esta pluma, esta pluma es negra, esta pluma es negra. I could, if I want to drop the word pluma and just use esta by itself, I can do that too. Esta es negra, this one. Esta es negra, this one is black. And esta used without the word pluma just makes it this one. So we can say esta pluma, esta with the noun, or I can just say esta, this one. Okay, I could say este libro, libro masculino, este libro, this book, or I could say este, this one. Este es más avanzado. This one is more advanced. Este es más avanzado. Este es más difícil. This one is harder. Okay, so este can be used with the noun or it can be used by itself. So used with a noun or by itself with no noun at all. All right. And of course, it can be the plural forms of estos, more than one, or estas, you know, and then it means these. Okay, but we also have this word esto. Esto also means this. And wait a minute, esto, wait a minute, un momentito, tiene O. Que obvio. Why don't they use this for the masculine? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's got an O at the end. This seems to flagrantly flaunt that thing of, you know, nouns that end in O are masculine. What the heck? Esto is actually neither masculine nor feminine. It is neither. It is kind of a neutral form, oddly enough. And esto is used to say this. It is never used. Yeah, it is never used with a noun. So you never use it with a thing. So you know, esto taza, no. Esto pluma, no. Esto is not used with a noun. It just means this, but it refers to any general thing that maybe you don't know the name of something. I'll demonstrate that in a second. It refers to any general situation. So the reason that esto, which is considered a neuter or neutral term, is esto and does not fall into masculine or feminine, is that you're referring to something that has no gender. So, okay, ¿cómo se usa? How do we use it? Por ejemplo, let's say you know you need one of these things. You know, you're traveling and you lost your thingy and your battery's got like, you know, your phone's got like this much battery left. Yeah. And you desperately need to plug this little puppy in. So, but you lost it. You didn't pack it. And, you know, now desperation is soon looming. So, you know, let's say you don't know what to call this. necesito, and you see this sitting, like sitting in the display case, or, you know, or behind the guy. Oh, and by the way, I could use eso, that, as well as esto, this. ¿Cómo se dice esto? ¿Cómo se pronuncia la palabra para esto? What do we call this thing? You know, you don't know if it's masculine or feminine. You may not even know the word for this. You don't know the word, you know, un cargador, a charger. You don't even know that. ¿Qué es esto? What is this? Somebody puts a plate of something in front of you and you don't know what it is, and you have allergies or, you know, whatever. ¿Qué es esto? What is this? ¿Qué es esto? Right? You're referring to something and you don't know the name for it, or you don't know what to call it, and you're just calling it this. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es? What is? ¿Qué es esto? Or, por ejemplo, very, very often to refer to a situation. So you walk out of the hotel and there are cars parked everywhere because you don't know why, but suddenly, like, everybody's parked in front of the hotel. There are cars sitting, like, not moving. It's a traffic jam in front of the hotel. ¿Qué es esto? What's this? What's going on? So esto can refer to activities, which are never masculine and feminine. They can refer to things that you don't know the name of, just in a very general way. So esto would be this. And when you take away the T, this and these have got T's, that and those, no T goes. If you take away the T out of esto, it becomes eso. And you can say that. ¿Qué es eso? What is that? So it's a very general, neutral, non-gender word.
Okay.
Refers to actions, things you don't really know the name of, anything in the super general way.
Okay, thanks.
You know, somebody does something, you know, like, oh, no me gusta esto, no me gusta esto, I don't like this, whatever that person is doing. Es buena pregunta. Más preguntas de las novelitas. More questions from whatever novel thing you read. Sí, la otra, la tocaya.
It's actually not book related, but I just wanted to see if you could clarify again about Javar and Usar when it comes to wearing something. I seem to be getting confused because they both seem to denote the same thing.
Okay. Sí. Sí, llevar and usar. I would say this falls kind of into that category of a regional question. So when we talk about wearing clothing, and I can, well, sure, let's pull up that board again. A new board. Okay, say whatever it may be. Yeah, when we want to talk about wearing clothing, there are actually three ways we might talk about wearing clothing, but they are kind of driven by regional dialects. You know, what people in one country or one region may prefer one verb versus a different verb to say to wear. So llevar is used a lot in Spain. I could say llevo un vestido hoy de muchos colores. I'm wearing a very colorful dress today. Llevar is used a lot in Spain. In Latin America, Latino America, I would say that usar is used a little bit more than llevar. I would say that tener puesto or tener puesta will also be quite popular. Those two terms. You can use uso, you can use tener puesto, but that puesto will depend on the garment. Tengo puestos pantalones, blancos. I've got white pants on. Tener puesto. So tener puesto, and the puesto means placed. So you're saying I have it placed on my body. And you can use uso as well in Latin America. Llevar, a little more common, I think, in Spain, and I think a little less common in Latin America. If you can't remember which one is used where, people will understand what you're saying because they know people use different terms. So, they're aware that that is done. Bien. Hay más preguntas. Más preguntas de leer o de Duolingo. Any questions you've got from Duolingo or anything else?
I have one more quick one. Don't
Sí, sí.
spend much time on this, but
Okay.
Ben is going to have to go to El Salvador and he doesn't want to, but he's going to because he wants the car.
Yes.
And then he says, si no fuera, which sounds like outside to me. I thought it must be some kind of a slang. He doesn't want to go. There's no choice. Is that what that means?
Si no fuera, if, well, I'll put it in the chat box here. If, and actually I would probably need to know a little more after the word fuera.
That's all it is. It's just that sentence.
Okay.
It's a sacrifice, but Ben is going to go.
Si no fuera, fuera can mean outside. Fuera is also a verb. Fuera is also a verb. It could come from ir, to go. It could come from ser, to be. Si yo fuera tú, no lo iría. If I were you, I would not do that.
So he wouldn't go if he had the choice.
Yeah. If it weren't for my parents making me, or something like that.
What is the verb? F-U-E-R.
Fuera comes from either. It might come from ser, to be. Fuera is also could be from to go, from ir. Ser and ir. Oh, this gets in longer than I like. Well, anyway.
No, don't worry about it then.
Yeah, fuera is a past. If it weren't, it's telling a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
If I were you, but I'm not, so it's hypothetical. If it weren't for this thing, I could have my car. It's a hypothetical situation. To form that hypothetical, they have to use a past tense to form that hypothetical word fuera.
Okay.
And ir and ser share the same past tense form that's based on.
Okay. That's plenty. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Vale. Magnífico. Bueno, ¿qué más? ¿Algo más o no? Bien, Jeff, dime.
Along the lines of wearing clothes, vestir, V-E-S-T-I-R, how does that fit in?
You know what? There are other words, and actually, we'll get into this one either later today or next week, depending on how our lesson goes. There are a whole lot of verbs actually that talk about clothing. Vestirse means to get dressed. So it won't be used to say that I have, well, it can be kind of used to say that you have something on. It means that you're putting something on. To get dressed is what vestirse means. So if I say about, let's say I'm telling a little fairy tale about an old witch that dresses in black, said to a little kid, se viste de negro. She dresses in black. Se viste, those words together, se viste de negro, means gets dressed, Or I could say, por ejemplo, mi hijo se viste muy rápidamente. My son gets dressed really, really fast. He does not dilly-dally. Se viste, se viste. Me he visto, perdón, me he visto a las 6 de la mañana. I get dressed at 6 in the morning. So it means to get dressed. It means putting clothing on. There's another word that means to put on clothing as well, and that is ponerse. And notice vestirse has a little se tagged onto the end of the infinitive, and ponerse has a little se tagged onto the end of the infinitive. Ponerse means to put on. And to get dressed and to put on are very similar, but we have different verbs in English. To put on clothes, to get dressed. That's the difference in between those two in Spanish. Okay, to put on, ponerse is to put on one's body. So anytime you put on a jacket, put on a hat, put on your shoes, put on sandals, they might say ponerse. So I could say, mi hijo se pone su sombrero cuando hace mucho sol. My son puts on his hat when it's very sunny outside. So ponerse is to put something on oneself. And this will very much feed into that idea of why a verb is reflexive. It means I'm doing an action and I'm doing it to myself. I do the action and I also receive the benefit of that action. And vestir says the same way. I take that clothing and I get everything arranged on myself, and I do that activity of putting it all on, and I receive the benefit of the action of doing that as well. But both of those verbs can be used kind of in a way, in a sense, interchangeably. The difference is one is get dressed, the other one is to put something on. Ponerse, you can also use with things like jewelry, perfume, even, you know. Whereas you wouldn't use vestirse with jewelry or perfume. But ponerse is any, you can use it, you can use it with lotion or sunscreen, ponerse, because you're putting something on your body with ponerse. Bien?
Gracias.
De
Gracias.
nada, de nada. Ok, más preguntas. Ustedes tienen buenas preguntas. ¿Hay algo más de leer? Anything else from reading or Duolingo or no? Nada, nada, nada. Okay. Bueno, if something comes to you later, let me know, put it in the chat box or interrupt me, lo que sea, whatever it may be. Bueno, I want to, we practiced last week with verbs that are like gustar, okay? And and the ones that you had a list of are not the only ones. There are loads and loads of verbs. I mean, I could tell you here's a list and it was like, oh, there'd be about 10 I could leave off, you know, because I forgot. A lot of verbs do act like gustar. So don't be surprised here and there as you hear them. And this website, I had asked you to go on and take a look at this, and they give us some different ones. And this caer mal, to make a bad impression, is like what we used to say that you dislike somebody, right? Caer mal or caer gordo, to fall fat. I know, caer really means to fall. But when you don't like a person, you don't like their personality, you don't want to be around them. That's a verb to dislike a human being. Me cae mal. He falls badly on me. Or me cae gordo. He falls fat on me. That is what is often used. So you have this little exercise, and I wondered if you had any questions about it, or did that all make sense? And of course, you can look up the answers. No, nada? Nada? Okay. Bien. And of course, doler is in there too. So remember, doler with parts of your body, with a part of your body hurting, is a verb like gustar, right? Me duele, it hurts me. Or let's say both my knees hurt because I have arthritic, conditions over both my knees. Me duelen. That's what people will use. So verbs like gustar are very, very common. But we did have this little helpful thing. Wow, where did my make it big thing go to? Oh, I think because, perdón. I've got to totally get rid of that, maybe to get this back. Aquí, los botones. Okay. Quiero engrandecer. Okay, I do want to make these bigger so you can check it out. If you want to say you don't like something, it would seem really obvious that it should just be no me gusta, which it can be, And if the thing that you dislike is something that pretty much nobody likes anyway, and it's not going to offend anybody, that's cool. But to say no me gusta is kind of forceful in Spanish, right? We have that, and I tried to help break it down for you. We have that little video about that. You can soften it and not make it quite so in your face by using some of these sayings, right? Es que, when it leads in, is always saying, well, it's just that, and something negative is coming up after. You can make it a little bit softer just by saying no me gusta mucho, and you kind of put a little fluctuation of your voice in there with it. No me gusta mucho. I don't know why that makes it so much less pushy, but it does. Or instead of saying no me gusta, you just say prefiero and you give an alternative, right? ¿Quieres ir de compras? Do you want to go shopping? Es que prefiero hacer ejercicio. I prefer to get some exercise. So in other words, when you say prefiero, you're giving, maybe we can do this instead of just saying no me gusta and reject. No me gusta has this rejection idea, like all over it. As a matter of fact, if people turn down an invitation to you in a Spanish-speaking country, they're always very careful about saying no, because it sounds like, no, because I don't like you. And they always want to say, oh, but I just have something else planned. So there's always this feeling of softening the blow when you have a negative idea. So prefiero with an alternative, or no me interesa, no estoy interesado, no me entusiasma is a little bit harder to use. Es que and an excuse, right? No es de mi estilo. Oh, it's just not my thing. No es lo mío. No es para mí. It's not for me. Literally, that's an easy one to remember. No es para mí. No es para mí. All of these things just sort of take the burden off of that rejection of I don't like. Yeah. It takes the sting out. It's just sort of saying, well, it's not you, it's me, right? No me apetece, no soy muy fan. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. No me mola, I would encourage you only to use if you're in Spain and if you're very, very, very young, because that's kind of a hip way to do it. No me mola is very, very popular in Spain. I don't think in Mexico they use no me mola at all. Anyway, he does show you with his reactions how people kind of take it. People take rejection kind of badly. So you want to soften the blow. So I'm going to send you off into little groups. And I think we're going to do just the first 4 and then the second 4. We'll do the first 4 of these questions first. And I want you to practice using some kind of a negative, I don't like to do this. And it can be any of these alternatives, okay? So the first four we're gonna look at are like questions people might throw out there if they're in a group or with their buddies. Vamos al nuevo restaurante de comida india. Shall we go to the new Indian restaurant? That does not mean Native American. That means like the subcontinent of, Indian food, actual India, like next door to Pakistan, that kind of Indian food. ¿Quieres ver la película de acción de Vin Diesel? Oh, you don't really want to go to a Vin Diesel movie, let's say. ¿Vas a jugar al tenis conmigo? Are you going to play some tennis with me? ¿Quieres asistir al concierto de hip hop? Do you want to go to the hip hop concert with me? I want you to turn it down in some less pushy way. I'll give you about 5 minutos, maybe 5 minutes, to work that. So you need to grab your little page. We're going to do the first 4 and then come back, see if you've got any questions. We'll give you some alone time. ¿Cuántos cuartos? How many rooms do I need? Por lo menos 4, quizás 5. Quizás 5. Vamos a ver. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to break you down into as many Tuesdays as I can. You're going to need to hit your join button. This will only be 5 minutos. 5 minutos, nada más. Just 5 minutes for that. Vale, magnifico. When you come on in, make sure you take yourselves off of mute because exiting the breakout rooms and coming back into the big general room puts everybody on mute automatically. So, and I think we're waiting on cuatro. Esperamos a 4 personas. Esperamos a 4. Suwai, it's good to see you back. I didn't know if I was going to see you because of your Wi-Fi problems. You're not the only one, Suwai.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting
How
a
many
lot
days? How many days?
Well, my personal neighbors, it's been going on for a week. They get Wi-Fi in the morning and at night, but not in the middle of the day. Some other people email me from different parts of Scottsdale telling me they just haven't got anything and they don't know why.
We have continuous 4 days, 4+ days was out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard some people say there was an accident somewhere.
You never know. Sure, it could be that.
A truck kind of set a fire on one of their main hub, something like that. And then I heard someone say they were upgrading their equipment all over the valley.
Oh, the good old upgrade
area have different outages. But if you ask Cox, nobody know about the outage. It's just amazing. Nobody knows what's going on in the company.
No.
It's just amazing.
That's a thing. Boy, it's annoying. And actually, some people who said they couldn't come to class because their Wi-Fi is all out. So yeah, that happens. Okay. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any kind of question you had from doing that little practice? ¿Hay alguna pregunta? I'm assuming I don't have like a huge hip hop fan base in this group. Have to pick very carefully. You know what might you have something negative? Like maybe the Indian food too spicy. Yeah, it's hard to say. Okay, a ver, bueno. Okay, I'm going to send you out very, very soon, but we're going to share and take a look at the last half for you to do the last half of this practice. Pruebas, will you try? Will you taste? Probar can mean to try on clothing, like you want to know, does it fit? Or probar can mean to put something in your mouth and taste it because, wow, you don't know if you like this kind of coffee, so you should try this. Okay, so pruebas can mean to try on or to taste. Here it means to taste. Pruebas este plato vegetariano. Will you try out this vegetarian dish? Tomas una cerveza. Will you take a beer? Of course, not too many people will turn that down nowadays, but you never know if we have a teetotaler in the group. Nos reunimos. Shall we get together? Nos reunimos para cenar a las 5 de la tarde. And notice, a las 5, muy temprano, right? In a Spanish-speaking country, you will never go out to eat dinner at 5. That is like you will get the what is wrong with you weirdo. Go out for tapas at 5 is perfectly okay. Tapas, yes, tapas. But you want like a full dinner? People look at you like, what is wrong with you, right? 8 o'clock is like the earliest you go to. Yeah, I mean, 8 o'clock is the earliest. Even 7 o'clock is like, well, it's kind of early. 8 o'clock is when people typically start dinners. So 8 till 10 is when people start dinner. I know it sounds weird to us, but that is what they do. So nos reunimos para cenar. Shall we get together to dine, to have dinner? A las 5, nobody would say yes to that. Me acompañas. Will you accompany me? Me acompañas cuando voy a correr esta mañana. And you want to turn somebody down because you do not want to go running with them. Because maybe you'd rather be on your bike. Or maybe you just don't feel like running because it's 101 and you know, eso es, okay? So we'll give you some time to work on that. 5 minutos más, 5. Find a way to turn down. Momentito, I've got the wrong button. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Una vez más. Starting my stopwatch. Fantástico. Ya esperamos a 8 más. Waiting for about 8 more. Aquí vienen todos. Aquí vienen todos. Here comes everybody. Excelente, excelente. A ver. Bueno. A ver. Y bueno, díganme por favor, díganme si tienen preguntas. Please let me know if you've got any questions coming out of that little practice.
We had a quick one, actually going back to the very first question, where you talk about Restaurante de Comida India. If you put a day between Comida India, does that change? Does that mean food of India versus Indian food?
Oh, Indian food will always be comida India, comida italiana, Italian food. Yeah. And you don't need another day. Does that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You don't need de comido de India. You could, but it's kind of repetitive. Comida India would be Indian food. Comida italiana, comida española, comida francesa, comida alemana, lo que sea, whatever it is. We'll just use an adjective usually with that. Okay. ¿Y más? ¿Alguna pregunta más o no? ¿No?
Sí, una pregunta.
Bueno, Diana.
How do you say I don't like a person then?
Okay, I don't like a person. We'll use one of 2 phrases. It will be, momentito, eso no. Me equivoqué, I got the wrong button. Aquí. Bueno, okay. I don't like a person is, the drawings. Aquí vamos. Okay. I don't like a person when you just don't like their personality or what they do or, whatever is, we usually use this verb caer. And it can either be no me cae bien. They don't fall on me well. No me cae bien. Or me cae mal. They fall on me bad. Or well, me cae, it depends. And we'll see in un minuto. Or me cae gordo. The big fall fat. No me cae bien is using, our no word. Okay, por ejemplo, also this might be in a plural form because you might be talking about more than one person. If you mean you don't like more than one person, it's caen, right? Me caen mal. Or me caen gordo. So like gustar, this caer, to fall, will be conjugated according to the person you like. You either don't like this many people or you don't like something plural. Okay, un ejemplo. No me caen bien los amigos de mi hijo. I don't like my kids' friends.
Yeah.
You don't like who you don't like, okay? O por ejemplo, no me cae bien. So that's if you don't like more than one person, right? Amigos is more than one. So no me caen bien los amigos de mi hijo. So it's set up just like a gustar phrase, right? Or no me cae bien la mejor amiga de mi esposa. Maybe a guy's talking about his wife's best friend. I don't like
Mhm.
My wife's, oops, BFF.
Okay.
Bien. No
I-
me cae bien if you don't like one person. No me caen bien or me cae mal carries the same idea. They fall badly on me. It's kind of like, you know, like in English, we might say, I don't take to that person. It's a similar kind of idea. No me cae bien is the same thing as me cae mal, is the same thing as me cae gordo. Me cae gordo probably takes it kind of like emphasizes it way out to the limit there. Otro ejemplo. No nos cae bien Alejandro. No nos cae bien Alejandro. We don't like Alex. No nos cae bien Alejandro. Okay.
Mhm.
So you can have a nos cae bien, but that person falls, it just doesn't sit right with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of an idea. Even though caer does mean to fall, that is the expression that is most frequently used to say you dislike a person. Okay. There is a verb disgustar,
Mm.
but I think in conversation, it's more common to hear people use this idea of no me cae bien. Think of it as fall flat. You know, like a joke falls flat,
Mhm.
doesn't go over well. This person doesn't go over well. No me cae bien or me cae mal or me cae gordo if you really want to kind of like take it, notch it up a bit. See? Vale?
Sí.
Bien. Okay. You don't often have to say that you don't like somebody well, but you know, privately when you're away from them, that's when we use that. Excelente. Okay. I want to carry on with this idea of negatives a little bit more. There are certain negative words beyond the like or not like situation, and negative words, just words of negation. Yeah. Y en el libro, para referirse a las páginas en el libro, if you want to take a look at what those words are, and I'm going beyond the word no, no is very obviously a negative word, pero en el libro, and I'm going to put it in the chat box here, en las páginas, no, 125 hasta 125 hasta 130. There are a whole bunch of words, but when you look at this in your book, you'll see it's a barrage of words. Oh my gosh, it's so many words. But there are a lot of negative words and negative expressions that are important to know. So we're going to break down this flurry of words that goes all the way through to about 130, 130. And we're going to break them down into like more digestible, more usable phrases. A lot of times you want to use words like nothing or not anything, no one or not anybody. And in English, we've got like two different things that you may hear people say. You may hear nothing or not anything at all, or no one or not anyone. Yeah. So we want to take a look at some of those kind of negative words, because the topic came up before. People said, I'm confused about this whole idea too of double negatives. What the heck is that about? So we're going to watch one video on this, but we're not going to use every single negative word in there. The ones that I think well, you'll see which ones we're going to use. We'll start off with a little video on this. Sometimes in Spanish, we need to use words as a double negative. You're taught in English that double negatives are very bad. And in mathematics, of course, two negative terms, yeah, I would multiply that and it becomes positive, right? And they cancel each other out. That's not. Negatives, you can use double negatives in Spanish. You can use triple negatives in Spanish. You could use quadruple negatives in Spanish. And two negatives do not make a positive in Spanish ever. So it's an odd thing for the English mind to think that way, but double negatives are actually a good thing. Sometimes we do take these special negative words, however, and use them by themselves. So hopefully we'll have some examples. You're going to hear some past tense in this video as well, but I want you to focus not so much on the tense of the verb as you do on how they're using some of these negative terms. So let's watch some of this first.
A la fiesta de Carlos y llegó nadie.
And, oh, you want to use the nobody. And I'm going to back him up so you hear that again. And I think we need to maybe make this a little bit louder.
Fui a la fiesta de Carlos.
Fui is I went. Fui a la fiesta de Carlos. I went to Carlos's party.
Y llegó nadie.
No, espera, no llegó nadie.
No llegó nadie. No llegó nadie. No, and she's using a double negative. No llegó nadie. No with llegó, came, arrived. Nadie.
No llegó nadie.
Ah, ok. No llegó nadie. Entonces fui a la cocina a comer algo y había nada.
No. No había nada.
No, you can't say había nada. There was nothing. No había nada. No había nada. There wasn't anything there.
No había nada.
Ah, ok. No había nada. Entonces pregunté, ¿quieres salir a comer? Me dijo, no te preocupes, quiero comer nada.
No quiero comer nada. No.
Double negative. No quiero comer, wants to eat. No quiero comer, I don't want to eat. Nada.
No
Nothing.
quiero comer nada.
So in Spanish, actually, you are saying, I don't want to eat nothing. That word nada in particular is almost always a double negative. I don't want to see nothing. I don't want to eat nothing. I don't want to say nothing. That is the way we do it. Nada in particular is almost always used as a double negative.
Oh, yep, that's my bad. No quiero comer nada. ¿Sabes por qué no había nadie en la fiesta?
No. ¿Por qué?
Porque no nadie lo sabía.
Nadie lo sabía. Nadie lo sabía.
But those two words, nada and nadie, are really close. They're both negative words, but they mean something different on the negative scale. Nada means nothing, not any article, not any item. But nadie, N-A-D-I-E, refers to not any person. So nadie refers to a human being, nobody, and nada, N-A-D-A, refers to not anything, not any item. Nadie is sometimes used by itself. Yeah, he's confused.
Hola, ¿qué más? Yo soy María. Bienvenidos a otro video. Antes de empezar, dale un me gusta al video y considera suscribirte al canal si no lo has hecho. Y si necesitas subtítulos, recuerda activarlos por aquí abajo.
Y tengo los subtítulos. I got your subtitles.
¿Por qué las oraciones que dijo Cody no son correctas? En español tenemos palabras como nada, nadie.
Okay, so nada, nothing, or not anything. Right? We sometimes say not anything. Nadie, nobody, or not anyone.
Ninguno,
Ninguno is another one, none at all. And nunca, never.
nunca, jamás,
Jamás, also never.
tampoco.
Tampoco means not either. Okay.
Todas estas palabras indican negación. Estas palabras pueden ir antes de un verbo o de
Okay, antes del verbo. Let's take a look. When you have a special negative word, and the special negative words are things like, well, sometimes nada, but more frequently, nadie, nunca, jamás, tampoco. If I use those special negative words by themselves, not as a double negative, but just solo by themselves, then they have to be stuck in front of the verb. So nadie llegó means nobody arrived or nobody came. Nadie llegó. To use it as a double negative, a no and a nadie, then that means the nadie is going to swing behind the verb. So if the special negative word swings behind or after the verb, then I have to have a double negative. No llegó nadie. No llegó nadie. But if I swing that word nadie up in front of the verb, it can stand alone without the double negative. Okay?
antes de un verbo o después de un verbo. Pero si las usas después de un verbo, es necesario usar no en la oración.
So, if I swing the special negative word, like, por ejemplo, nadie, if I use it after the verb, it must be a double negative. Has to, has to, has to. You cannot say llegó nadie. It's no llegó nadie. If I want to use nadie without that extra word no, I have to swing nadie up in front. Okay, nobody came, nobody got there. Nadie llegó is okay because it's in front of the verb. But once I swing the word nadie behind the verb, I've got to make it a double negative. No llegó nadie. It's just a word order thing that they do.
Y eso se llama doble negación. Y lo que hace es simplemente reforzar el sentido negativo de la oración. Veamos unos ejemplos. No pasó nada.
Nothing happened. No pasó nada. Nada is behind that verb. It's got to be a double negative. Nada is usually most of the time used as a double negative anyway. Out of all these words, I would say that is the most frequently one used as a double most of the time anyhow. You can say nada pasó, but no pasó nada is probably a little more usual.
No vino nadie.
Nobody came. The came as a past is vino. No vino nadie.
No me dijo nada.
She didn't say anything to me, and I know she's got some verbs here that are in past, but no me dijo nada. Me dijo told me. Me dijo told me. No me dijo nada. No me dijo nada. Double negative.
No quiero verte nunca.
I don't want to see you ever again. No quiero verte. I don't want to see you. No quiero verte nunca. And notice in English, you might want to say, I never want to see you. Or you can also say, I don't ever. And in Spanish, if I swing nunca into a position behind the verb, I've got to make it a double negative. No quiero verte nunca.
No está de acuerdo tampoco.
No está de acuerdo tampoco. Tampoco is either or neither. And when we swing that special negative word tampoco behind the verb, está de acuerdo tampoco, it's got to be a double negative. No, está de acuerdo. There's our little verb phrase, tampoco. He doesn't agree either. So we have words in English, either or neither or either or neither, depending on how you pronounce it, right? And no está de acuerdo tampoco. If I take that special word tampoco, and because it's a special negative, if I swing it in front of the word está, in front of the verb, it can stand by itself. Tampoco está de acuerdo is perfectly okay. But once I take tampoco behind the verb, it's got to be double negative. No está de acuerdo tampoco.
No me he roto un hueso en mi vida. No lo llamé jamás.
And jamás is a different word that means the same thing as nunca. Nunca means never. Jamás, to me, I cannot tell you why it just sounds a little more forceful than nunca, but they mean the same thing. No lo llamé jamás. I didn't ever call him, or I never called him. Jamás means the same thing as nunca.
Ahora veamos estos otros ejemplos. Son los mismos ejemplos de antes, pero sin el no. Nada pasó.
So when I move the special negative in front of the verb, it can stand alone. Nada pasó.
Nadie vino.
Nobody came. Means the same thing as no vino nadie. But I swung the special negative word in front of the verb, so now it can stand on its own.
Nunca quiero verte.
I swung the special negative word in front of the verb quiero, so I can use it alone. Nunca quiero verte means the exact same thing as no quiero verte nunca.
Tampoco está de acuerdo. En
mi vida is actually a negative, even though there is no negative word there. It is a negative expression, and it means never have I ever. En mi vida, in my life, never have I ever. En mi vida.
mi vida me he roto un hueso. Jamás lo llamé.
Jamás, same thing as nunca.
En este caso no necesito usar el no.
So we don't need a double negative when we swing that special negation word or phrase in front of the verb. But when I swing it behind the verb, it's got to be a double negative.
Porque la negación ya empieza con estas palabras. Nada, nadie, ninguno, jamás, tampoco. Vamos a hacer un ejercicio, pero antes responde en los comentarios. ¿Alguna vez te has roto un hueso? Yo todavía no. Bueno, para este ejercicio vas a responder en voz alta y de forma negativa. Siempre vas a usar no, luego el verbo y luego una palabra que indique negación.
So here she's intending it to be a double negative. No, verbo, and then the special negative word. Nadie, nobody, or not anybody. Nada, nothing, tampoco, either or neither.
Como nada, nadie, nunca. Esas palabras. Por ejemplo, ¿alguien sabe esto?
¿Alguien sabe esto? Does somebody know this? Oh, look, here came the word esto. Does somebody know this? What does this refer to? I don't know. An address, a fact. We don't know, right? Esto is just referring to some general thing that we can't tag as masculine or feminine. We can't tag it as it's this thing. We can't tag it as it's this thing, tubo. It's just this. Does somebody know this? It's some kind of information, right? And so if I just mean this as some kind of information, it's esto. ¿Alguien sabe esto? Does somebody know this? And if I want to say nobody knows it, it's
No lo sabe nadie.
no lo sabe nadie. No lo sabe it. Somebody knows. No lo sabe nadie. Nobody knows it. The lo just means it. No lo sabe nadie. Nobody knows it. No lo sabe nadie.
Ahora sí, empecemos. ¿Llamo a alguien?
Llamó a alguien. Did he call or did she call somebody? And you don't know, that's a past tense verb. So don't worry about the form of that verb yet.
Aquí la respuesta puede ser, no llamó nadie.
Did somebody call? Llamó a alguien. Did somebody call? No llamó nadie. Nobody called. And when we talk about nobody, we'll always conjugate the verb for somebody, just one single person. Not yo, not tú, not nosotros. Like an LA usted. Nadie for a verb always takes an LA a usted form.
No llamó nadie. ¿Te dijo algo? La respuesta puede ser, no me dijo nada.
¿Te dijo algo? Did he tell you something? Did she tell you something? The dijo is just putting it in the past. It's from decir. Did somebody tell? Or did somebody say something? No me dijo nada. Didn't tell me anything. No me dijo nada. He didn't tell me anything. No me dijo nada. She didn't tell me anything. No, and then the me dijo, and then nada.
O no dijo nada. Yo no estoy de acuerdo. ¿Y tú?
Yo no estoy de acuerdo. I don't agree. Yo no estoy I'm not in accord with somebody. I don't agree. No estoy de acuerdo. ¿Y tú? And what about you? And if you want to say, I don't agree either, I don't agree either, we're going to need that negative word tampoco.
Yo no estoy de acuerdo tampoco.
I don't agree either. No estoy de acuerdo tampoco. No estoy de acuerdo tampoco. I don't agree.
¿Alguna vez has comido hormigas?
Have you ever eaten ants? A-N-T-S, ants, the little bugs.
No he comido hormigas en mi vida.
And en mi vida means never in my life. No he comido, I haven't eaten. En mi vida.
En mi vida es un grupo de palabras que indican negación.
So, en mi vida can be used, and it kind of sounds like, well, in my life, I've done this once. En mi vida is actually a negative. And it has the same kind of force or the same kind of idea behind it as nunca. It has the same idea as jamás. And it means never. En mi vida is like, never have I ever. Okay.
Es similar a nunca o a jamás. Ahora cuéntame en los comentarios, ¿alguna vez has comido
Have you ever
hormigas?
eaten ants?
Yo
No.
sí. ¿Has escuchado alguna vez acerca de las hormigas culonas? Bueno, pues hace muchos años, cuando viajamos a Santander,
hormigas.
en Colombia, Cody y yo comimos hormigas culonas. La verdad no me gustaron, así que en mi vida volveré a comerlas.
I will never eat them again. En mi vida, never again. Never ever will I do that again. Volveré. Will I ever do that?
Bueno, ahora hagamos el ejercicio, pero esta vez no vamos a usar no. No lo vamos a usar. Solo
And now she wants not a double negative, but just the special negative word in front of the verb.
otra palabra de negación. Por ejemplo, ¿alguien sabe esto? La respuesta sería, nadie lo sabe.
And we're going to take the special negative word and see it in front of the verb now. But it won't be double negative, it'll be single negative, but we're going to swing it in front of the verb phrase. Nadie lo sabe. Nobody knows
No
it.
usamos no, solamente la palabra de negación al inicio. Nadie lo sabe. Empecemos. ¿Llamó a alguien? Nadie llamó.
Nobody called. Instead of no llamó nadie, which is fine, we can put nadie in front of the verb. And now it can stand by itself. Nadie llamó.
¿Te dijo algo? Nada me dijo. Yo no estoy de acuerdo. ¿Y tú? Yo tampoco estoy de acuerdo. ¿Alguna vez has comido hormigas? En mi vida he comido hormigas.
And you could also say, nunca he comido, I have never eaten, or jamás he comido. Either one of those is fine.
Bien, ahora vamos a hacer un último ejercicio. Ayúdame a identificar las oraciones incorrectas y a corregirlas.
We'll see if we can
Tienes
correct
que poner
these.
atención a cuáles oraciones necesitamos corregir. ¿Listo? Veamos. He tomado ningún café.
And actually, she's using a more, okay. Ningún, It means not even one cup of coffee, no coffee at all. And the he tomado is I have had. And ningún is actually I'm going to give you a video to watch on ningún for the weekend because ningún is a little more challenging word than the other ones we've had. Ningún goes into different forms like ninguna, ninguno. So it's a little more challenging than the other ones. Don't worry about the ningún yet.
Esta oración es incorrecta. Tenemos la negación después del verbo. Es necesario un no antes. No he tomado ningún café.
So because that ningún was not in front of the verb, the he tomado is a have had this to drink. It would have to be in front of the verb. We would have to make it a double negative here because the special word isn't in front of the verb. I have to make it a double negative.
También puedes decir no he tomado café.
I haven't had coffee.
Ningún café he tomado. Pero ojo con esta última, porque aunque gramaticalmente es correcta, también suena muy extraña.
Yeah, that last one is a phrase you wouldn't hear people use very much. It sounds like a weird word.
Literaria, como del libro viejo.
Technically correct is what she's saying, the last one, but you wouldn't hear anybody say it that way.
Y no se usa en conversaciones. Siguiente oración. He visto nunca un unicornio.
And if we use nunca and it's behind, he visto is a verb phrase. If it's behind, it's going to have to be a double negative.
Incorrecto.
Igual que el ejemplo anterior, es incorrecto. Otra vez necesitamos un no antes del verbo. No he visto nunca un unicornio. También nunca he visto un unicornio o simplemente no he visto un unicornio.
So don't worry too much that you don't know the he visto. It's a perfect
Ella me
verb
llama nunca.
structure, perfect tense. Ella me llama nunca. Ella me llama nunca. She never calls me. Ella me llama nunca. She never calls me. Would that be correct or incorrect, you guys? What do you think?
Incorrecto.
Okay, it's incorrecto. It's behind the verb. So I would have to swing it to the front to make it correct. Or I've got to make it a double negative the way it is right now.
Esta oración nuevamente es incorrecta. Necesitamos un no, así. Ella no me llama nunca. También ella nunca me llama.
So here, nunca is okay because nunca is in front of that verb phrase. Me llama calls me. Me llama calls me.
O simplemente ella no me llama. Siguiente oración. Jamás he visto esa película.
He visto is the verb phrase. Have seen. That's all it means. Have seen. Jamás he visto esa película. I have a special negative word that means never. Jamás. It could also be nunca. Same thing.
Correcto.
Correcto. It's in front of the verb, so it can stand by itself.
Esta oración es correcta. En este caso, solo estamos usando una negación y está antes del verbo. Por eso no.
So because it's in front of the verb, it can stand by itself. So I don't need a double negative. And I'll give you some things to practice this over the week on your own.
El no.
This too.
También puedes decir, no he visto esa película jamás. Y ahora sí, la última oración. No quiere comer nada.
No quiero comer nada. You guys think that works or doesn't work? We've got a nothing
Correcto.
word.
Correcto.
Correcto.
Esta oración también es correcta. Hay una doble negación. Nada está después del verbo y antes está un no. Espero que no haya quedado ninguna duda.
I hope there's
Pero
no
si
doubt. Okay. I will give you with some easier verbs, some ways to practice this. Okay. Some easier verbs. And I will give you a special video to look at that word ninguno, because that one is kind of a special case because it takes different forms. So that requires like, well, special practice and special examples. But the words nadie and nada, I want to make sure you've got separate. Nadie, because they're spelled almost the same way. Nadie is always referring to nobody, a human being. I'll put it in the chat box. No one or not anyone. And notice we might say in English, not anyone, or we might say no one, or we might say nobody. Yeah, nobody. And all of that is nadie. So when you hear nadie, it's referring to not any human being, nadie. And it always takes a singular verb. Nadie aprende ruso en mi familia. Nobody is learning Russian in my family. Nadie monta en motocicleta. Nobody rides a motorcycle en mi familia. Nadie monta en bicicleta o en motocicleta, perdón. Nadie monta en motocicleta. Nadie monta, nadie special word in front of the verb monta, rides, right? Nadie aprende, nobody's learning. Nadie aprende en ruso. Nobody's learning Russian. The special word when it comes in front of the verb can stand by itself. If you swing the nadie word behind the verb, it's got to be double negative. No aprende nadie. No monta nadie. Okay? So nadie refers to a human being, but nada, which is spelled almost the same. The last couple letters are different, right? Nada refers not to a human being, but to things. So that's what I want to make sure that you get clear today. Because a lot of times we want to say, I haven't got anything like in money, or nobody is helping me and I need some help, right? So these two words in particular, and the word never, nunca. I want you to know the word nunca or jamás. They are synonyms. And she actually gave you another one, en mi vida, in my life. And that means never or not ever. So notice in English, sometimes we say not ever or never. We say not anyone or no one or nobody. So we use different terms in English, right? Depending on how you phrase it in English. Nothing or maybe not anything, but usually just nothing. So I want you to focus on those three. And I'm going to give you some scenarios to come in and have conversations using just those three. Okay? And I'll give you some extra videos on just those three to practice and use next week, to use as double negative or single negative. Bien?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Vale, magnífico. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Any question on that?
Marilyn?
Sí,
Could I
Nora.
just, it's not really related to the negatives, but the way she used hey and may, I was wondering if they referred to the same thing or they're different.
The me there refers to me. So when she said things like me dijo, it said, me dijo means to me, he said, or to me, he told, me dijo, or to me, she told. The dijo just told, not right now, present, but in the past. So dijo looks funny because it just is a past form for said or told in the past. Instead of saying right now or telling right now, it's said or told in the past. Me dijo said to me, me dijo told to me. Bien? ¿Sí?
Well, actually, it's when they said no me and no hey. And I wasn't sure what the difference was between the HE and the ME.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you an example. That word H-E, a, and we don't pronounce the H.
Oh,
She was using a few of these. He visto is what we call a compound tense, meaning we've got two verbs that have to be used together for it to make any sense. So not I saw, but I have seen. If we say it in English as I have seen, oh, I've seen that movie. I have seen that movie. You can't say to somebody, I have that movie. I have seen that movie. Or worse yet, you don't want, oh, some people do say this in English. I seen that movie. They're maybe 8 years old. I seen that movie. No. We don't. I seen that movie. No, I have seen that movie. She has seen it. Oh, he's seen that movie. No, he has seen that movie. The is I have. And the I have has to combine with the thing I have done. He visto. Me he lavado las manos. I have washed my hands. He lavado el carro. I have washed the car. He limpiado el baño. I have cleaned the bathroom. Is used together with a second type of verb, which you haven't seen that yet. It's called the past participle. It's what we call in English a perfect tense, meaning we're using these two verbs, have done something. And the is the I have part. That's all it is. I will not give you practice with any verb that uses a. It's kind of hard to avoid some of these in some of the videos, but I will avoid them like the plague in your practice because you don't know how to use them yet. So you'll get a whole lot of practice with that. But I just want you to focus on the negative terms nadie and nada and nunca or jamás or en mi vida. Just those negatives. I will send you a separate video that will talk about ningún, because you saw ningún, and ningún means not any at all, like zero of that thing. Okay, so it's kind of like nada, but you'll see why it's a little bit different when you see the video. Ningún means not even one of that thing. And we'll send you a video that will show you how that is used. So when we come back next week, we'll use these negative ideas a little bit. And your book will tell you about them. It's starting in those pages 125, but it's got so many negative phrases that when you go through the book, you may want to either take a pen and circle or put a star next to just those negative words or highlight them, right? We're not going to use every single one, but they'll have nadie and nunca and jamás and ninguno, and they'll and nada, and they'll explain just those. And wait, where's tampoco? Tampoco is way over on 128. So kind of ignore all the other negatives because there are too many of them in one chapter. And you'll never remember that many of them because you have to use them in concrete examples. Bien? So what I will probably be doing for you is I will be sending through some little English ideas. And I want you to say, how would I say these English ideas? Like, I'm not buying anything. You want to tell somebody I'm just looking? I'm not buying anything, right? Or I haven't got anything, meaning I haven't got any money, right? Or, you know, I never play tennis. I never eat meat, because maybe you're a person who never eats meat and you go into a restaurant, right? And you want to convey to them, I never eat meat. So they know, oh, that stuff's off the plate, you know, it's off for you. We were only looking at vegetarian dishes. So I'll give you some ideas and I'll have you think of how would I translate these ideas. You may translate it as a double negative. You may be able to translate it as I can use the special negative word once by itself, in which case it's got to be in front of the verb. Okay, está bien?
Está bien.
I think we definitely do not have time to do justice to reflexives. We'll start into that next week, but we're going to look at just these negative ideas and leave all the other stuff in the book off the plate. We just want to take these negative words first. Entienden? Understand?
Sí.
Okay, because if we break it down into like 3 or 4 phrases, it's way more digestible and usable then. Here are a dozen. 4 es mejor que 12 o 15. Yeah. 4 is better than 12 or 15. Yeah. Bien?
Bien.
Fantástico. Okay. Eso es todo. That is it. Do read one more chapter of your little book about mi propio auto, mi propio auto. Look and see if they use any negative phrases. You know, it's hard to say where they will pop up here and there, but I will send you some things to translate and see if you can use them as single negatives and double negatives. And then I'll give you a video to watch on that special word ninguna, ninguno, because it is tricky. So ninguna, ninguno is going to be a special video. Bien?
Bien.
Magnífico. Entonces, eso es todo. That is it for today.